Creation Account Part 6, Day 3, First Half. Day 3 is more straightforward than Day 2, as God creates the boundaries for water and land on earth. As always, he simply spoke, and it was so. He again takes lordship and calls the land earth and the waters seas or oceans, and he was pleased with his perfect work. Additionally, he brought forth grass, herbs, fruit-bearing trees, and all the other foliage and flowers. To provide for animal and human life, he introduced these things that they might have food to live on, and the abundant supply thereof. Something more to mention is that it mentions the seed is in itself, meaning self-replication, or that you can eat the pulp and meat of it while being able to plant the seeds to grow more, kind of like what a Christian should do. Someone, or the Lord himself, plants a seed of faith in someone. God gives it water and growth. And we should, in likewise, plant a seed in another, and that the fruits would multiply, and God's kingdom be furthered. Therefore, the cycle would continue, so that the one who had a seed planted in them would, in likewise, plant a seed in others, and the fruits would continue to multiply, not only in person, but also in deed. He is the author and perfecter, the finisher of our faith, just as he is the creator of the plants and trees. He made everything self-sustaining in the sense that nothing more needs to be created, but can be fruitful and multiply, as we will later cover. I do not mean we can sustain ourselves, because the Lord is our sustainer, Jehovah Jireh, the Lord our provider, and he does provide for our every need. All we need to do is but ask in his name, and he shall provide. Another note to mention is that as time progresses, food is becoming more genetically modified and engineered. I can only really speak for America, and with individuals flooding into the lands, food scarcity will get worse, and even more food will be bioengineered. Fruits are developed to become seedless, and more food is becoming synthetic. While seedless fruit is better for some with diseases, it also prevents many from using those seeds to replant fruit. Food scarcity, however, affects many people and nations. In America in 2019, 10.5% of Americans faced food scarcity, and in 2020 that number climbed up to 23%, more than double that of the previous year. In 2020, over the span of 78 countries, 200 million people had food insecurity, and last year that number grew to 333 million people. In addition to scarcity, we also face rising costs of food. It is also estimated that roughly 75% of processed foods on the shelves in America are genetically engineered. This is why my mother, myself, and many others are starting a garden, and I recommend all who can should do so as well. The times are going to get worse, and as Scripture says, the black horse and rider will be released who has a set of balances, and the measure of bread and barley will be for a day's pay, but leave the oil and wine be. If we think that the cost of living is bad now, just wait until the horsemen are released. It will be horrible and nightmarish then. As we further read, this is the horse that precedes the horsemen of war. The famine leads to rise in costs, but evidently, oil and wine will be untouched. As history has shown, famine precedes times of war, and not only that, when you introduce prophesy to the mix, that factor is exponentially multiplied. With war comes cost, and with America's president giving all the taxpayers' money to other countries, primarily Ukraine, we are seeing those effects, and it is not even our war. Imagine what will happen when we are involved in one that is our war, like with a couple power countries. Even though food cost goes up, wine and oil, or alcohol and other such things are unaffected, and with the despair that sweeps across, I could foresee some giving into the wine. And as we also read in Matthew 24, they live as in the days of Noah, giving into wine and marriage, or living as if nothing really happened. But Scripture also tells us to be sober-minded and stay watchful for the Lord's return. We will not have despair if we live for the Lord and in the Lord, for he will be our peace and comfort and strength and shield. So there is no need to be given into drunkenness. Therefore, we must endure through faith through the tough times, that we might not be caught unaware of his return, being left behind as the foolish young ladies were when the bridegroom returned. Matthew 25, 1-13. Let our hearts be always ready for his return. To Jesus Christ be all honor, glory, and praise.